Welcome to the podcast hosted by timecam.com on how to stay on top of your work.
Welcome back to Stay on Top of Your Work podcast. This is Kate, your host. And today we're going to talk a little bit about brand management and a little bit about tractors. Because my guest is Magda Urbaniak, brand manager at Brand24, but also the founder and CEO of tractormania.pl. Hi, Magda. It's my pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me.
It's fun. So for the beginning, I'd like to ask you if you could say a few words about yourself. Who are you and what do you do? And why are you interested in tractors?
Okay, I'm quite surprised that we're talking about tractors, but also I'm very happy that you mentioned that. Speaking about myself, I'm, as you mentioned, I work for Brand24, a brand manager. So what I'm doing mainly is running influencer marketing for our company, but also I'm trying to improve or maybe speed up our global communication along with our team. So our main goal is to raise brand awareness of Brand24 on global market, what I like to think we are doing quite well. So actually this is what I'm doing for Brand24. And why tractors? Oh my God, we have just 30 minutes. I don't know if we have the time for that. Long story short, I just had an occasion to spend some time with people who are very into tractors. So once they shared their stories with me, I thought that because I am PR person, I thought that the image of the countryside of agriculture and tractors is way different that it's in real. So I decided to run a blog to explain people how cool is agriculture, and also I fell in love with tractors because they are awesome machines. So yeah, that's so after Brand24, I I run a tractor. Sometimes I run my blog.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. I would like to talk about tractors a little bit later, but for now, you partially explained what you do for Brand24, but what as the entire company, what do you do at Brand24? Because people love you and you have really great reviews. So what do you guys do for other people?
We do a lot of things. I mean, I speak for marketing, customer success team, actually for everyone who's working in Brand24, because, it's teamwork in every sense of that meaning. What do we do? We have to divide, I guess, our brand image here in Poland and our image on global. In Poland, we are well known, let's say. I think that brand recognition is quite high. I mean, especially in marketing industry. We all obviously work hard to have even stronger position here in Poland. Talking about global, I'm super proud to say that our brand awareness is rising very fast in last 3 years. What do we do? I think that actually we provide a cool product, but obviously we're not the only one on the market. We try to educate people. We try to explain them that we can solve them problems. I mean, we do not push our product itself. We try to educate people, help them, solve them problems, and we're trying to emphasize the fact that Brand24 may help in here. I would say that what do we do to make people like and use Brand24 is to show them how their lives can be better with our tool.
Okay, so what's the secret behind the company's success? Do you have any strategic tools or methodologies or anything like that, or is it just teamwork?
Teamwork is very important, I'm thinking here, but it's not only one that works for us. We have to say that we try new things all the time. I mean, we see that some practices are working very well. For me personally, it's influencer marketing, and I see that number of mentions, number of articles, number of interviews that we have on global market, and mainly they are for free, like 97% of those mentions are for free. Let's say for free because it's our work to make people feel happy about Brand24 and say it loud in social media, on blogs and forums and so on. What I'd say, we're trying to combine the things that we see that work for us. It is influencer marketing from my perspective, but also we're very active on Quora. We are very active on our blog, which is working very well for us from marketing and communication perspective. But we're still trying to figure out new ways that can work well. Lately, from my point of view, it was landing page that I found out that people are looking for some phrase that are very that Brand24 can solve, let's say, or can reply to those needs, like how to find an influencer or how to manage our reputation. So we're trying with landing pages, for example, right? In general view, I would say that content marketing, but let's say planned content marketing is a thing that works very, very well. But on the other side, we have to remember that tool has to be working well, right? So we can tell people that Brand24 is cool and it will, help you with so many things about your brand, but still our front end and back end team is working all the time. So people will come to us because we make some shout out. The product will work well. So again, this is teamwork, but we trying to do something new every month.
Okay, that sounds really good. So it's basically about being also innovative.
We have to be, let's say in this branch, it's impossible to not be innovative. So sometimes we're trying things that we have zero proof that it will be working, for example, right? I will be back to my experience because it's obviously easier for me. So we launched a report last year. It was the first edition. This year was the second edition of our report, top 100 influencers, and it gave us. Obviously, we've got some clients thanks to this report, but we've got tons of publication about it. So people knew who made this report, and it gave us a big publicity on the market. But to be honest, we didn't know how to do so. I mean, we try our best to make this report as professional as we can. Last year I think it was very good. This year we even improved that. But it was the very first time that we tried such a thing here in Brand24. And when we went to Social Media Marketing World this year in San Diego, I contacted a lot of influencers, and it was a fantastic experience because almost all of them knew us thanks to this report. Obviously, I contacted them earlier. It wasn't only the report, but they all heard about it, and it was way easier for us to make some deals with them. And also, we've got a huge interest in our target group thanks to this report. This is the one example of things that we tried for the first time and worked well. Obviously, there are some things that we're trying, and it's not a success day every time, but thanks to that, we trying new things. We see what can work well, and we definitely have to try something new. We're growing, so there's another way.
Yeah, so trying is good. So how, according to Brand24, but also according to you, can we create a successful brand?
Oh my, this is such a generic question. I think that there's so many ways that we can use such a tool like Brand24. And what I want to emphasize here that obviously I do recommend using Brand24, but people have to know what is social listening in the first place. This is something more that media monitoring, which is not that obvious a term for the people too. So we have to think about what people say about us, what people like, why they dislike, why they hate even. So the one way to use brand monitoring and social listening is to track all mentions about us, about our company. The second thing is to track mentions about our industry. For example, if you have a restaurant, so you can track, for example, mention which starts with who can can anyone recommend a restaurant in Paris, for example, or I don't know, in Warsaw, whenever you are, or whenever is your restaurant. So you can see how many people are looking for something, for some service that you can provide. Because there's some, I think it's not an issue, but this is sometimes a challenge to explain people, especially for smaller brands, that you don't have to be like, I don't know, Air France or other huge brand to track mentions about you, because tracking mentions about yourself is the one thing. The second thing is track mentions about industry, because people share their needs a lot of time, and brands just ignore those mentions. It's huge potential in the internet to interact with people who trying to get some recommendation. They send queries. They want to have any opinion on any again, recommendation about something. And it's super easy for brands to go there and interact with those people. It doesn't have to be trying to brag about ourselves. Sometimes it's about helping people, and they will go back because they feel like, okay, these brands really care about me. The third way of using social listening to grow a good company is tracking our competitors. This is not that maybe clear for some people, but we can do that, and we should do that definitely, to see whenever people like in our competitors about them, so we can maybe improve something in our company, or maybe what people dislike about our competitors, so we can provide them that solution, or we can help them. So we will have to also have a picture about what people think about other companies. It doesn't have to be, our direct competition. Just we have to feel the needs of the people, and believe me, they share their needs a lot of time every day on the internet.
So once we have all that information about mentions about our company, what can we do with that information?
Again, there's
if we have
solutions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a good question, because sometimes we've got data and if we feel like, okay, that's cool, looks awesome, or looks not that good, so let's skip this data. I trying to explain people that reacting to mentions is the one thing, and it's super important, it's crucial, and we have to do that every single day. But the other side of social listening is gathering a lot of data. So after 1 week, 2 weeks, month, I don't know, a year even, you can take a look at your data. You can see how many positive mentions you've got, how many negative. And if it's, for example, 18 to 20, okay, this is automated tool. I mean, the sentiment filter. So you can think that there's not a lot of negative mentions. Maybe sometimes they're not really negative. But if you have 50 to 50 positive and negative mentions, it shows you that, okay, people don't like something about your brand. Another thing is helping ourselves with creating or improving our marketing or PR strategy, because you can easily see where are the people who are looking for something that you can provide or talking about you. For example, I don't know, some marketers, I feel like they've heard that, okay, we have to put money on Facebook because everyone does that. But when you go to the project, you see that your audience is on Twitter or LinkedIn or, I don't know, maybe on some groups that you had no idea about. Another thing is that you can track people who are most influential in your branch. You can engage them. You can talk about them, why they mention yourself or why they, talking about something related to your brand. You can thank them whenever they said something nice, or you can explain something when there's any, I don't know, complaint or something like this. We have also something, it's a very cool feature. It's the last one. When you scroll our dashboard, you can see a word of cloud of word. So you also see what are other words that people are using often when they type this very particular word that you set a project for you. And it also shows you what is the atmosphere about your company. So I'm totally aware that it's not that clear for the people who are playing with social listening tool for the first time. That's why I think that, and I'm sure that educating about this one is super important, because it can bring us a lot of very important data for our brands.
Wow, that's a lot of information. And it's a good information, of course. So what do you think are the most common mistakes people do when creating a brand?
From my perspective, and now I'm talking about my perspective when I see my friends creating companies, and when I see companies on the market, that people are so focused on their own tool, on their own service, that they don't monitor the environment. I mean, they feel like, okay, I can do something awesome. I know that people need it, but they don't examine the market. They don't ask people what they need. Okay, maybe they need something. For example, let's think about it. They need some nice cups for coffee, right? But and if they're like, okay, I can create one. My cups are the best. They sweet, they cool, they very Instagrammable. I don't know this word, but I've heard it lately that something really fits to Instagram. Instagram doesn't matter, but you got my point. But you don't check that if there's any other companies. Maybe those people like caps for coffee because they feel like it's cool, but there's some other suppliers that do that for years and they prefer them. Maybe your price are too high comparing to others. Maybe it's right that your price are so high, but you have to think why people should buy your product. I think that also this is very general question. So I'm trying to, point out one thing that I feel like people skip in this strategy. So they are thinking a lot about what they can do for the people, but they don't think what exactly people, want. Maybe there's some time during the year that they want that product more than in other time. Maybe maybe you should think about the location or specific language that you have to promote. So my conclusion for the question is that people are too focused on themselves and their product or service that on the customers.
Okay. So are there maybe any good practices and tools which we should use when creating brand's image in social media, or maybe not really? Of course, besides Brand24.
Yeah, sure, obviously. No, I'm thinking about other tools. I think that we can try with scheduling tools that will help us to manage our profiles, because I also know people who are solopreneurs and they are working on something else at their social media presence, but it's also at the same time it's very important for them to have this presence, and it has to look good. So what I do recommend is to create a social media strategy that will be implemented with time, and you can schedule all posts that you will publish in one place for all platforms. So I recommend to use those tools. Yeah, social listening we also mentioned. I'm thinking aloud. Maybe Google Trends. I don't know, but lately I'm using a lot of Google Trends, and I really like this. I don't know. It's tool platform maybe rather, but also helps me to see whenever people likes and they talk more, and also I curate my content to the insights that I've got. I would say that we have to have tools that will do something for us, like what I said, social media management tool. But on the other hand, the tool that will give us the insights, what people are interested in, what they are talking about, and trying to combine them together in our work. I mean, obviously, we have to use our brain at the end of the day, and actually during all the day. But let's try to use those tools smart. Other thing is that I feel like people sometimes think that tools will do the job. Tool is just a hammer, right? And it can help us. It can speed some work, but we have to know why we use that tool and what exactly you want to get from them. And let's do that.
Okay. So I'd like to switch now to the more creative part of the podcast and talk a little bit about tractors, because you are an extremely interesting person because of your passion for tractors. So I'd like to ask you if you somehow combine what you learn at Brand 24 into your work with tractors, or not really.
Oh, very interesting question. I've got a lot of thoughts about what works in 2024 and what works for my Tractor Mania thing. And my main conclusion is that what works for Brand 24 doesn't work for tractors. But also it's very interesting because some people claim that some solutions doesn't work anymore because they don't work in technology industry. And this is space for me to say, like, it's not exactly what you're saying, because, for example, some practices that are totally, let's say, old-fashioned in technology industry works very well in tractors, let's say tractors-wise environment. I'm trying to think what is similar, and I think that it's common for every sector that we are going more and more social media. I feel like something that worked also good for tractors. I mean, magazines. They have to make some room for internet, and some companies in agriculture industry doesn't understand maybe yet that people prefer to looking information in the internet. Actually, this is why I managed to rise my blog, because farmers, because my audience is mainly are mainly farmers, which I love. They decided they prefer looking for solid information about machines, also entertainment, because there are thousands of authors on YouTube that people can imagine. Sometimes, I'm super surprised, because when people on some conferences, for example, from not YouTube, but this company that helps YouTubers, to stand out. Oh my God, I forget his name, but I like them a lot. I mean, they they mentioned that they work with farmers, YouTubers, and people laugh, and I was I was quite mad, because I thought, like, come on, guys, you feel like there's no, I don't know, camera or internet in on the countryside. So there's so many stereotypes that are working in tractor industry that I'm trying to fight with. But if going back to your question, is there anything common? It's hard to tell. I feel like they both super innovative, but it's hard for people who are not working around tractors, let's say, that it is in agriculture. But it is, and I bet that tractors who are produced right now are way, way more innovative than that more of our cars, for example, if it comes to technology and so on. So, I know that for people it's hard to imagine that tractors has air conditioning and TV, but yeah. So, yeah, I would say that they both super innovative, even it's hard to imagine.
Nice, that's good to know. So I'd like to ask you also, what inspires you in your work, and what books do you read?
Okay, so maybe I start with books. My room is filled with books about, it's no surprise, with marketing and PR, because let's say I rise from PR, and I'm PR person, and I'm digging into marketing for 3 years now. So it's some mainly books about something that can help me develop my skills. So recently I read a book, Pat Flynn's book, because it was published in Polish, and I feel like it's easier for me to this kind of book read in Polish. Another side, I have some biographies because I love them. So this is what I read mainly. And what inspires me? let's think. I'm even surprised, but what really motivates me, it's data. And I'm surprised because I was super is not a good word, but I wasn't a huge fan of trying to measure everything. I thought like some things you have just feel, you have to get some insights, but you cannot measure everything. And now when I combine some tools, for example, I combine HIP with Google Analytics, I can see so many numbers, and it fascinates me sometimes. And it's not only because it works; sometimes it doesn't work at all, and it's also a surprise. So yeah, I would say that digging into numbers and seeing that something that I do brings some solid numbers. I would say that motivates me, but also I have to say that I really like the team that we work in, and I think that some conversation with the people who are throwing ideas help me to feel like, okay, it's creative team. I feel like the spirit is very good, and it's simply nice to work with them. So yeah, I would say that both things, that human aspect and numbers.
Okay, that's nice. So my last question will be, how do you stay on top of your work, and how do you manage your time and work and daily duties?
Managing my time, it's super challenging, to be honest, for me. This is something that I work on constantly, but I use two tools for that. One is Trello, and the second tool is Toggle. I use Toggle because I felt like I had so many tasks, or it wasn't even so many tasks. It was just, I don't know, 3 or 4 tasks for a day. And in the middle of the day, I saw that I'm just in the middle of the first task, and I was so disappointed. And I thought like, oh my God, this is me, or what's happening? Why I cannot accomplish as many tasks as I wanted? And I figure out, thanks to Toggle, that I didn't plan my time well. I mean, I thought that like I spend 15 minutes on my emails every day at the morning, and thanks to Toggle, I found out that this is 2 hours. And it was, and there were more that surprises like this. So it helps me to show how many time I spend the task, and I improve my planning for the future. And obviously I keep my Toggle, so I open it every day at the beginning, so I can, schedule somehow my day. And at the end of the day, I see how many time I spend on each task and which of them are accomplished. So yeah, tools.
Okay, fantastic, because TimeCamp, as you may know, is also time tracking software. So I encourage you to try it out. It's really great.
Okay, so you mentioned that I mentioned the competitors, so
That's fine, that's okay.
So yeah, so you guys can feel like I'm super honest in this podcast, but yeah, I will try it for sure. So nice to hear this another option, and I will give it a try.
But it's nice to know that someone uses time tracking software. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Magda, thank you so much for the interview. It was my pleasure to talk to you. It was really fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This podcast was brought to you by TimeCamp. You can listen to it on iTunes and SoundCloud. Subscribe to get more content and always stay on top of your work.